whatever terms you want to talk about it in, you have to address a problem as if it's a problem. Everybody wants to have an honest talk, I'm holding my fingers up in quotes and rolling my eyes. It's time we had an honest talk about, race relations and all that. Well, first thing we need to do is stop the media and its rush to turn everything into a problem of race. And they don't even know how to report shit. I mean, in New York, when some poor Jew car jumped the curb and he ran over a black kid, the blacks went on a rampage and they were tearing up the town and they're beating up Jews and they were lynch mobs, but they're going after the Jews. And it's like, racial tensions between the Jews and the blacks, and not the Jews. That was the blacks. Well, and they don't talk about it that way.
Well, there's an interesting correlate.
They'll never talk
for this
about
story
it that
too.
way.
But listen to it this way: people are going, "This judgment makes it open season on African American males. People can go kill them and feel that they can do it without having any justice served."
It's
as opposed to, but
insane.
that chick in the second window said, "Who's in more danger right now, black male or George Zimmerman?
Right?
Whose life is more in danger?" Well, that's interesting.
To be fair to Crazy Hat Lady.
She didn't chime in.
If you live in a crappy neighborhood, you are more in danger as a black male, except for you're going to get shot by another black male. They don't weave that part into the equation.
They did. Both the two middle windows and below both argued that. And they said we need to do something about that.
And Drew acted interested by that new revelation. Ooh, hadn't thought of that, except for that's all he thinks. That's all he knows. Yes. Okay. So everyone's a hypocrite. No one really wants to talk about it. I had an interesting.
Go ahead.
I had an interesting thought about it.
Yeah?
Yes. Look, I've said this for as long as anyone would say it, and now, thank God, people are starting to say this.
Dig. There's some truth is going to be delivered.
Kids, and more kids.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have kids you can't have. Don't have kids you can't raise. Don't have kids you can't take care of. Don't have kids you can't educate. And watch things magically disappear. Yeah. Watch all the racism that is plaguing the black community and holding the black community down. Watch it start to evaporate as the family system starts to repair itself. Education starts.
So how do we make them traumatized people can't do that? They want to have kids to make themselves feel better. How do you stop it?
Well, first thing you do is you stop listening to Jesse Jackson talking about a lynch mob or Al Sharpton saying, it's open season on black. That's the first thing you do is you get away from that dialogue. That does nothing. The third thing you do
get Gavin Newsom in here.
All these Gavin Newsom. He's got all the answers. He's got plenty of answers. He likes to work. Oh, no, wait a minute. Gavin Newsom likes to work small to big. I forgot. So he wants to work, let's say, on a tree that might be dying and needs to be moved so the road can be built rather than education or poverty or something like that. So he's got to go small to big. That's how he likes to approach government. I was like, well, that's interesting because I like to work big to small. Like something like, what if we just did that in World War II? Forget about those Nazis. We got to focus on our light rail program here in the States. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, not states, just in Indiana.
Right.
Then we'll get to what's going on overseas. But anyway, what do I know? I'm not a politician. I'm not a college boy. What the fuck was I talking? Oh, kids, and more kids. Always talked about it. People need to discuss that. Obviously, when it comes to being shot in this country, you're much more likely to be shot by a black person if you're a white person and be shot by a black person if you're a black person than be shot by a white person if you're a black person. So statistically, all the stuff is screwed up.
But we brought that up on the show. We did.
Oh, okay. We?
Well, they.
Or the one white guy, the bald white guy. Of course. You stood there and looked concerned and grunted.
The African-American girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. All right. Now, everyone knows what the problem is. No one wants to talk about the problem. The problem is a cottage industry for a lot of people.
Right. It's political capital for
But
people.
the news, it shouldn't be a cottage industry for the news.
Well, the news,
I understand Jesse Jackson and, Al Sharpton is a huckster. Al Sharpton did this Tawana Brawley thing, never apologized for it, ruined people's careers. I mean, he's a horrible individual, but fine. First off, why do blacks need leaders? Off the top of your head, Asian leader, Jewish leader.
American Indians have leaders.
They have elders. That's different. They're older.
That's crazy talk. Literally,
he's running the buffet.
He is. He's over here at the casino.
Yeah,
crazy talk.
I love that Simpsons joke. Now, look, how many black leaders are there versus, I don't know, Jewish leaders? I mean, there's Rabbi Shmuley, but he's not Jewish. He's a crazy Jew who, brown noses celebrities.
Well, Israeli leaders, a bunch of those, and they sort of rally the.
They don't live in this country.
Well, they rally this country.
Okay, now, you made a fine point.
I'm just saying.
You've made a fine point.
There's no political leaders in this country.
All right.
Not specifically. You're right.
But
because, in fact, they have to cover. They have to cover.
The idea that you have to be led. You don't need to be led, especially by these idiots who profit from you.
I do think you need to be led. I disagree with that.
All right. Well, then let's get some Asian leaders going so we can get those people out of the hole they've dug themselves.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you don't need, for the individual to flourish, you don't need to be led. People, but you got to remember, your brain doesn't work like most people's.
No, other people's brains don't work like mine.
Right, and you,
mine works fine.
You self-start. You're autonomous. You don't listen to anybody else. You march your own. You get it on your own terms.
No,
most people work. Well, most people like to follow and like to have a lead, have somebody direct them. Ray needs a leader.
Listen,
right?
Bring up a retarded guy I went to high school with. Look.
Why are you so angry?
Your leaders
with you?
Are your parents.
Yes, ultimately. And our leaders, their political leaders, are surrogates for that, I would argue.
Your leaders are your parents.
Yes. And, man, you had great leaders.
Teach you from wrong.
Thus.
I'll tell you the one thing they taught me. They taught me nothing. But
That's the one thing.
Nothing.
The one thing's nothing.
Now. No, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you the only thing they ever stressed. The only thing they ever stressed to me was you find out what your part is in whatever's gone wrong with whatever you're doing. Drew, it's the mic. Is it that big a struggle?
Listen, you understand how uncomfortable I am. I'm like agitated from the discomfort.
So when you're in a hospital and you have a certain pain threshold, they hand you a mic.
And I start twirling
and you start pulling it off the stand. Like, I understand you're uncomfortable.
Here's what I'm sitting here doing.
Why are you punishing the microphone?
I'm like sweating. I'm watching your upper lip spritz. I'm starting to get. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Let me can I turn the air on a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Why do you have to wrestle with the microphone because you're uncomfortable?
Listen, why are you so angry?
I'm not. I see you. You're like.
Yeah. I'm recovering. I feel miserable. I'm trying to position myself.
Well, but then don't burn so many calories attacking the microphone.
Well, every time I reposition, I have to pull this goddamn thing back towards me. You understand? I know you don't.
I don't understand why every single human being who comes into this studio
I'm exceptional.
Takes zero contact with the microphone and you violently assault it.
Riddle me.
That's what I don't understand. Now, as a doctor, I would think you would understand that there's a problem.
There's a problem. Yeah, I have anxiety disorder, and I'm physically uncomfortable. And every time I reposition, I pull this damn thing in a different way.
All right, but everyone else, from even Ray, who you've described as an imbecile who needs a leader,
you said he's a retarded guy from high school.
He can waltz around this microphone.
My fucking kishkas are pouring out of
He can get through a podcast without touching the microphone.
All right.
Go ahead.
Riddle me this.
Go ahead.
Why are you so mad today? What's going on?
You say that every time.
No, not like today. Maybe I'm sensitive because I'm
you're sensitive.
Post anesthesia.
You're sensitive. No,
really?
Listen, I get angry because I know you're a hypocrite when it comes to
not
race.
A hypocrite. What?
I see your TV show. I see what
I have
what
a
goes
job
on
to do there.
A job to do what?
To create the conversation and sort of push it in where
you have an opinion. You don't share it, obviously. Now, look, that's the way the media goes. Don't share your real opinion. Here's what you do. You go on CNN, you announce to the world that we need to have an honest debate and an honest dialogue.
I don't say that.
No, this is what everyone else does. An honest dialogue about race, and then you announce, like someone did on CNN.
Then I create the fucking dialogue and I let it go. Thank you.
Then you announce that there's a lot more racism than, it's time to look in the mirror.
Right.
Someone's on CNN explaining, you don't think you're a racist? You're probably a racist. There's that. And then they sit down and go, I have to sit down as an African American and explain to my children that when they walk out to the car in the morning, they better run serpentine.
That's the trauma. That's the trauma being transmitted right there.
I don't know what
to
tell my children. And it's like, I know what to tell them. Focus on education. Raise your kids. See where this thing goes in a few years.
Still are going to carry that shit around with them.
Oh, well, then I asked you about other trauma, which you wouldn't acknowledge.
What? Other people's trauma?
What about Jews?
I just addressed that, and we had.
But that's different.
We had a dialogue. Different. We had a dialogue on my show where people are advocating having a dialogue. We have a dialogue.
Drew, Jews had a lot of trauma.
Yes.
A lot.
And I would argue focusing on it has served them poorly. They ended up reenacting.
Yeah.
What
happened to those Jews? I think I got one mowing my lawn this morning. Yeah, it's not worked out well.
Can I add?
Someone ought to get those guys out to Hollywood. Maybe get them a job as a grip. Or like a best boy. Jews, could they hold a boom mic steady?
Probably.
Let's get some of those guys.
Look at me shifting around, man.
Get those guys, some of those guys. Hey, Gary, when we go by the Home Depot parking lot, let's gather up a few of those Jews outside there.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can get them. Let's bring them to Hollywood, see if we can get them a gig. I don't know, craft service or something.
All right.
Yeah.
Done and done.
Yeah, you're right. Let's get those Jews out of the ditch.
Where do you think? Let me ask, because I tried to figure this out with a friend of mine who is way into her heritage. Why the education?
What heritage?
Jewish heritage.
Yeah. I don't like anyone that's into their heritage.
But I asked. She was talking about that's such a Jewish thing, and I went, really, the Jewish thing is the. I think we were talking about raising another crop of kids or something. And I was like, I couldn't do it. I could not raise another group of kids without the private school and the homework and all in on the education. I couldn't do it. Where'd that come from? Where did the Jews pick that up? Is that a part of just where Jews lived? But then when you think about it, even in Spain when they were cast out and in
what? That's traumatizing.
They were cast out and they lost all the professionals when they cast them out. Is the point? They were already sort of into the education and the professionalization. Mm-hmm. Where do you think that must come way back somewhere?
Hey, either way,
it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Well, for you, not for all those guys out in the Home Depot parking lot. Waiting to jump in the back of a pickup truck to make.
But if we could figure that out, maybe we could help other populations to adopt a similar sort of thing.
Well, we can't help anyone do shit, Drew. You're not black.